Tom Morrison to our show. Thank you very much for joining us today on your
Yes.
busy schedule. Really, really appreciate that.
Welcome to
Thanks
the
for having me.
Dad and the Mom podcast.
Yes, you're our first official guest.
Yay!
You're like, oh, seriously?
Awesome.
Tom, I came across you whenever I was working with a couple of clients who had some injuries, knee and back injuries. I was like, I need some help to find some information. And I came across your Instagram page, very quirky. And I was like, what's going on here? And I was watching it and I was really just taken aback by how effective some of the stuff was. And I started like making notes of it. Then I started a bit of stalking, going through your Instagram, going through your webpage, and I found out you were doing a course in OMA. And I was like, sweet, if I get on this course, this would be awesome because I could then get proper like one-on-one training along with everybody else. So then I booked on the course and met you up in OMA at the end of April there. And to be honest, it was brilliant for me. I learned a lot of stuff about my body, but also that I could take that forward for my clients. So it was very invaluable to me. And that's been the key component as to why I wanted to speak to you. And it's quite clear that anyone who's worked with you in the past has the same sort of feeling. And I hope you don't mind. I went on and I was a little more stalking. And I got some reviews.
Restraint order sent out.
I got some more reviews. There's only a couple, but I think it's testament to your work to date. So we have one from Maxine saying, I can honestly say that my body has never been stronger or more mobile since starting the simplistic mobility method. And then we have Christine say that she wanted to learn from the best in the business. I can attest to that. And that your S.M.M method is simple and so effective. Totally. We don't want overcomplicated stuff. That's why you're so successful what you do.
Definitely.
And then Dan, who had been on your program for 2 weeks, he already is quoted as saying it's life-changing, which is a big statement, to be fair. And then we have Christine saying that there's a lot of substance behind your work. Now, it's fair to say that on your reels and stuff, there is a lot of information, but you're quite the comedian, some would say. And some people might be like, what's going on? Do we understand this? But once they delve into the work that you do, it is quite clear that it's very knowledgeable and very in-depth. And what you have to teach people is very,
it is.
it's very strong, it's very good. So
interesting and very useful. And also you can relate to it, so you can, it's made simple but effective. So it is, which is really enjoyable. I've noticed, went through a load of videos and had to go a few things myself, trying, especially my posture, my back and stuff. So I've noticed a wee difference doing that and stuff for training. So it is. So keep up the good work.
And then there's one thing I want to talk to you about on your webpage. You have the Tom Morrison facts.
Yes.
There's a couple of them here. Now, I'm not too sure if they're 100% real. What is it? Tom Morrison's facts. Tom Morrison can do a wheelie on a unicycle.
Yep.
100%. Tom Morrison can count to 11 with his toes.
Yes.
Yep. And Tom Morrison is the reason Shakira's hips don't lie.
Yep.
All true. Quoted that in your class when we were doing hip mobility. I was like, hips don't lie. Did not realize that was a fact. On terms of the facts, how many facts do you have on your webpage?
Oh,
I've got mixed between 100 and I've got almost 275 here.
Yeah, I think it's nearing 300. Yeah, it's been going for years, and every now and again I would just post up for people to put their own Tom Morrison facts down, and we would just add them to the page. So it was just a silly idea way back when, and it just kept on growing. And even when we updated the website, it was like, oh, well, we'll take it off. It's not really, doesn't really provide any value to anyone, really, And it's like, oh no, it's funny. So we just kept this kind of thing.
It is good, yeah.
The idea behind that, like the kind of like Tom Morrison character that I portray, is the idea that he can do anything. I can't, but this guy can, and I'm always working towards being this guy. And I think it's a good thing to help people with and teach people that you start doing the things of the person you want to be now, and you'll eventually become as close as you can to that person. So that's kind of why that persona comes around. So like whenever I was really bad with my back injury and stuff, like I just couldn't do anything. I was forgiven up completely, but it wasn't who I wanted to be. And I just kept striving towards fixing myself. And if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be where I am today, kind of thing. So I think it's hard to do sometimes, but almost like give yourself a different persona and build yourself around that. So that's kind of the weird story behind the facts, is that's the silly idea.
Actually building my character, because I don't know who my character is right now to develop mine, but we'll work on it.
Quirkiness.
Well, I don't know if you've seen on Instagram, I tried that challenge with the stick behind my back on Saturday. I've been watching people go down bridge doing it.
I've never laughed as much in my life.
Now I had to shorten it down to me over 3 minutes to get out of that position and get up and out of the stick. And I had to ask my 4-year-old to help me. I was like, "Can you please just record for me? Because I need to stop this." But it was so difficult. And then I realized that the ones who were doing it in the gym with soft mats, and I was doing it on a hard floor. And I was like, "There's only so much pressure my face can take right now." So that's what took me longer. Yeah, I look weird. But yeah, so we're gonna start off asking some questions if you're okay with. So you've alluded a bit to some of the stuff that we'll cover. So what were you like before you got into fitness? Like, what was your jam? What was your thing that you did? Do you always
Oh,
into fitness, or was there other stuff?
no, heavy metal completely. Like
Heavy metal.
I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to shout at people through a microphone, and that was my only interest. It was like just that and drinking and smoking. That was my only hobbies that I had. So playing in a band, trying to do gigs, and making music was just my life completely. So it wasn't until I was actually 24 that I thought, because all my friends and work were starting to call me Beef, and we were working in quite a slim office. It was in a betting office. And they were like, every time they had to try and get past me, they were like, "Frick, sick, Tom!" And they couldn't get past me because I put on so much weight and stuff. So I was like, "We're fine. Well, I'm going to do something about it then." And that's I went and started martial arts then, and just fell in love with the thing and just completely flipped what my interests were and what my passions were. So yeah, I had no actual training background, which as a coach it really helped me a lot, because where I started from, I wasn't always into sport, I wasn't always into fitness, so I knew exactly what it was like to be immobile, unfit, and just not have any idea how to move whatsoever. So like I said, as a coach, that was actually a great start for me, because I was able to relate so much better to people that, say aren't starting until they're like in their 40s or whatever. Or just
vice
haven't done
versa.
it. Yeah, and things that they haven't done for a long time. So yeah, so martial arts, I just jumped in from doing absolutely nothing to then training like 6 days a week. I'm doing like whenever I got through the beginners courses of MMA, basically I started doing the intermediate classes as well. So I started to rack up doing like 3 or 4 hours of training every evening, and in the mornings I would go and do an hour with the strength coach as well. And I just became addicted to training. Essentially, I flipped all of my addictions of like alcohol and smoking and everything all onto training instead, and just became
Wow.
absolutely infatuated with it.
Do you still do the MMA training, or have you
No, not anymore. I just haven't got the
do
time
that?
for it anymore, So
Yeah.
I still do my training now is just like an eclectic mix of everything that I've ever done.
Yeah.
So I just keep all of the things that I enjoy basically, and don't do burpees anymore.
No,
So
hate
yeah,
them.
just don't enjoy them, so don't do them. There's other ways
No,
to get fit.
It's a fine line between burpees and jump squats for me. I think I take burpees over jump squats all
no.
day.
Yeah.
Jump squats are not too bad. It's the burpees. It's just
Nah.
evil things. Should be banned.
Mhm.
So you went in MMA. So you didn't stick with that when you said you don't do that anymore. What did you move on to next?
Weightlifting, CrossFit, like the traditional bodybuilding style stuff. And it was really like I was trying to support my MMA training with like just lifting heavy things, and it wasn't really transferring over. And there was just the start of it. I just started tweaking things all of the time. I kept hurting my knee and kept hurting my shoulder, and kept tweaking my back a little bit and stuff. And there was all these warning signs going there. And whenever other people were doing movements, so in MMA, the triangle choke, if you ever know that one, that's when you try and get
Yeah.
your legs wrapped around someone's neck and try and choke them out with your legs. I couldn't do it at all. And it was like, why can't I get this technique? Because it was driving me nuts. And what I know now is that my external rotation in my right hip was just non-existent. It did not move whatsoever. So I physically couldn't get into the position to do the submission. So I just thought, oh, I suck at that move. And that's just the perception I had back then, was just like, oh, I just can't do that movement. That's what the problem is. I didn't think anything about it. I could change my hip flexibility,
So what made you then look into that? Like, a lot of people would just go, oh, I suck at that, can't move, can't do that movement, I'll move on. What made you just stop and go, no, I need to look into this?
It was when I started doing CrossFit more, and they have like movement standards. So like if you can't squat below parallel, you get no rep pretty much. And that was, I couldn't squat below parallel. I just didn't have the physical capabilities to do it. It just stopped at a certain point. And my ankles rolled in, my knees caved in, and I just had to round my back to get any lower. So my squat just looked awful. And it was through actually the CrossFit standards. Like CrossFit gets a bad name for injuring people, but it was actually
Oh
through
yeah,
that
definitely.
it made me realize, like, I can't do any of these movements. I can't squat. I can't do this. And like an overhead squat to me was just like impossible. It just blew my mind. It's like, how can anybody do that? You
Yeah.
know? So it's really that's got me interested in starting to work on mobility stuff. So I started to improve my flexibility using a lot of the traditional stuff, like wrapping myself up in bands and doing foam rolling and stuff and all that. And I started to improve my flexibility. I started to get lower my squat. I built myself up. I was able to do an overhead squat and stuff, but stuff was still missing. So even
Yeah.
though I was starting to get lower and stuff, and I started even trying to squat in flat shoes, like I was lifters all day long, but I started squatting in flat shoes, and then eventually that's what led to me injuring my back really badly. So because of the external rotation in my hip that I still didn't know needed fixed, it every time I squatted, my hips shifted to one side, really really subtly. But you can kind of see it when I look back in my old videos now. I'm like, how did I not pick this thing up? You know, how was this never
Right.
noticed by anybody? And then yeah, I got a L4, L5 disc protrusion and an L5 S1 disc extrusion in my lower back, and that was what led me to just like a year of just chronic pain and not being able to walk properly, stand up straight, and it was just an absolutely awful time. And it was through
Mhm.
that I was like, we were just expecting our daughter at the time, Roxy, and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to be a functioning parent here. I'm just not gonna be able to do anything. This is awful, and that was the motivation and the driver for me, really, to like get out of this. So it took me so long to get my MRI scan that I thought so. Whenever I moved, I started to feel like a tiny bit better. Every morning it would completely reset, and it would just be in the
Yeah.
exact same amount of pain again. But if I moved first thing in the morning, it would kind of get me through a little bit, and I could cope through the day. I wouldn't have to take painkillers and stuff. And the more I did that, the more my flexibility started to improve even further, and I started to get deeper into my squats, and could touch my toes whenever I got up, and stuff in the mornings. And just through building that habit and actually starting to learn how bad I was at certain things, I got myself pain free and moved better than I ever had before. And I got my MRI after I was completely pain free, after I had like PR'd a bunch of my lifts as well. And like I felt like my recovery was better than ever. I thought, oh, whatever's happened is went back in or clicked, and it's fixed now. But I
Yeah.
got the MRI. I still got the MRI anyway, even though it was pain free, and it still showed those structural injuries. I was like, well, something's not right here. Why am I being told now by a doctor I need to change my career? I'm standing here for like, I just deadlifted 200 kilos there on Monday. What's your problem?
Uh-huh.
And it just led me to start realizing how many people in the world are being told the same stuff. It's like, oh, you've a back injury or whatever. It's like, well, you need to stop lifting. You need to not do this and not do that. And it's like, it's completely the opposite. If you have a disc injury or disc change, you actually want to train more. You need to be more active. You need to actually be lifting and making yourself stronger so that you don't run into so many symptoms that you can
Yeah.
have with
Right.
disc changes.
Building the muscles stronger.
Exactly. Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
Whenever you question it, it doesn't make sense. It's like avoid moving. Like, where does that take you in 5 years'
Yeah.
time?
You're just
What are
going to
you?
seize up.
Yeah, you're
You're
gonna
sitting
get
about not
worse.
doing anything.
Yeah,
So I don't know where to get their information from. It baffles me sometimes too. So it does. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, and sitting about. So you're going to sit about. You're going to seize up. You're going to get worse,
mhm,
rather than trying to loosen it up or work around or find some way to fix it.
exactly.
You
And
know?
there's so many people, and you're going to professionals and trusting their advice to tell you the right thing. But like, if you just search around on the internet for a wee while, you'll find hundreds and hundreds of people that
Oh
have
yeah.
had worse than probably what you have, and that they're fine. And it's just if
Yeah.
you get the wrong information at the wrong time, you can build a belief system around that. And just I meet people all the time that stopped doing things 20 years ago because they hurt their back a little bit, and it's like a minor disc bulge it's completely manageable, and it was just because they were told the wrong things at the wrong time. They stopped doing everything that they loved. They completely
Yeah.
changed
Panicked.
everything about their personality. Yeah.
I have a client who has a lower disc problem. Like she had a prolapse disc. And the first couple of weeks when she was really, really bad, she was told not to move, just to rest up, which is totally fine. If it's really bad and any sort of movement could like make the twinges even worse and put it right off. Now we're doing weight training again and back up to increasing the weight. But from someone like your perspective who's been there personally, for me who doesn't understand the pain because I don't have it, what point do you know to push them further? Like, what point do go, right, you know what, we're going to stop today because you're twinging and it's really, really sore, or do you just keep going because you trust that your body's going to react properly?
It's knowing what so everybody's going to be different. So
I know.
if you've got someone with a disc injury that has zero training background, so
Yeah.
I was like, I deem myself as a little bit lucky when it happened to me because I still had a couple of years of building strength first. If you've got someone that has never weight trained and doesn't understand how to deadlift and stuff like that, and you're trying to teach them from scratch, it's going to be a lot harder to do that because you're almost trying to teach them two things at the same time: how to get out of pain and also how to lift correctly. So it just
Yeah.
makes that a little bit more challenging. It's not impossible, but it just you need to have so the likes of S.M.M is you use the regression examples in S.M.M and they're completely fine to do no matter what kind of stage you're at. If it's a fresh injury and you can barely move, you need to go to the doctor and just go through the proper channels and try and get an MRI scan if it's really that bad. initially, but if it's been going on for longer than 6 months, and if you have periods where it feels a little bit better and it gets worse again, it feels a little bit better, you need to start figuring out the why does it feel a little bit better stages. And it's really through starting to move your hips more that's going to make the biggest difference. So changing how your hip flexibility is, and also your hip stability and your ability to balance and your ability to feel your muscles, working on all of that stuff and focusing on that is going to be the most beneficial thing for you long term. And then whenever you start getting much better at that and improving your body awareness, you start to take away reasons for the pain to be there. So you want to just you want to treat your house like fire doors, and you want to be like, right, does my right hip move like this? Okay, good. Does my left hip move like this? Okay, good. So I've got those covered. Can I balance from one leg easily? Can I close my eyes and balance easily? Yes, good. Right. Okay. So I've got, relatively good proprioception, and it's like, well, can I feel my hamstrings if I, bend over to lift something and load something heavy? Can I engage my hip muscles and not just lift from my lower back? Do I understand that? It's all those things that you're looking to just fill yourself up with and just make yourself so confident that you know that you're moving properly, that the reason for the pain to be there just starts to go away.
It's a bit like it's just the way you're explaining that there, exactly the way I do with my own training. Feeling the muscle move. So if I was training chest, something like that, there, or you say glutes and hamstrings, I would sit and focus for a while and actually move light weight or stretching to feel my glutes and hamstrings working, mind the muscle connection. So it is.
Yeah, it's something I always say. Like, people like laugh at bodybuilders and stuff and say, you don't go to a bodybuilder to learn moving, it's not functional, all this here stuff. But it's like,
Yeah.
if you go to a proper bodybuilder, they can teach you way more about mind muscle connection than anybody else, because they're obsessed with growing that muscle. So they actually know more than other people. So no, it's a fantastic sport.
Yes, that's what I said. It's loads of young people and all now. You see, just throwing weights about and stuff like that there. And anybody who comes with me, I try and get them to explain that you got to feel the muscle work. So you got to get your mind working with that muscle, and what you're doing, where you're going. You have to feel it and focus on it. So you have. So most people don't do that now. Next minute you see them either with injuries or snapped to something, or their knees pulled out of them or something, or the back gone because they haven't focused or worked on their proper stances and stuff. So it is. But that's what I find, like yourself and all, it's good to watch and learn, because I'm learning from you as well. You read videos and stuff. So, oh, I've never done that before. I'll try that, and you see the difference. So you
Yeah,
can.
and that's the thing. People can get strong wrong.
Relatively young, but I picked up a lot of stuff that Davey, because Davey used to train me back in the day. So I picked up a lot of stuff from him, and I've taken it forward into my groups, and other stuff picked up from your course and picked up from other people. I'm like going, okay, let's try that themselves. But I try to get the clients to understand, and I video them sometimes just so they can see what I'm talking about in terms of the muscle and the hip. Like, you have a picture on your website about the hips being slightly off kilter, not same. And I had a client exactly the same as that, but it wasn't until I stuck the camera on her, because I was watching her upper body and watching her. I didn't see the hips straight off. I saw the camera, and I was like, whoa, here, why are you wonky? And then we worked on it, and now you wouldn't know. But it's just like, you pick up stuff whenever you pay a bit more attention to certain things. So
That's it.
it's not just about, right, we're going to do 12 reps of this and move on to the next thing. That cracks me up. And I do it so fast. It's like, it's not a race.
Slow down.
I want you to feel it. I want you to understand your body's working. And if you're feeling anything and it's not where I'm asking you to feel it, then we need to look at your stance and stuff.
You take a step back. So
there you go. So you're obviously Tom Morrison, the Tom Morrison, but it's not just Tom Morrison behind the scenes. There's Jenny, your lovely wife, and JP. So tell me more about Jenny. Tell me how you met Jenny and how you managed to woo her.
Well, no, Jenny's actually not my wife. She's my business partner.
Business partner.
So now a lot of people make that mistake. Don't worry. No, I'm married to Shelley, and Magic is Jenny's fiance as well. So no, we're just business partners. So we've just known each other for a long time. We're very good friends. So yeah, she moved over here from Manchester, and I was coaching in a gym at the time, and she just happened to join that gym. And she, was really proficient at yoga, and she'd done taekwondo for years, and she, started lifting a bit of weights and stuff. So she came in, and it was like, right, okay, let's do your assessment here and your mobility assessment. And I was like, wow, you move perfectly. This is great. Wow, look at your squat. It looks fantastic. And just as we were starting to just train with her, she just started hurting things all the time. And she'd always been like that all the time. She would just tweak stuff, and then it became more apparent to me about hypermobility syndrome, which is what Jenny has. And you have to kind of you use the same movements, but you take a different approach with them whenever you're training someone that's too flexible. Essentially, it's really about getting them to feel things properly as they're doing movements. So if they are able to just go up and down and do a squat, it's like, are you actually engaging the muscles of your hips, or are you just basically balancing on your ligaments and just, literally grinding your joints up and down whenever you're actually moving? So it's such an important thing to like slow things down a little bit and focus on stability first. So like Jenny years ago, she has a blog on our website, getting stronger with hypermobility. And like she used to not be able to walk around like the town for like an hour at a time because her shins and everything would just start to hurt. So she got from that like over a 7 or 8 year period now to being able to do backflips, and being able to cope with that. So just it takes a while to build things up, but there's a lot of people, like I get messages every day from people that have hypermobility, and the advice they're given is absolutely awful. It's like they're told not to move certain ways, not to go into the range of motion that they can, but it's like if you have access to all of this, like literal flexibility, like you're able to move in certain ways, it's like you need to then do that and strengthen that. If you have it, you have to strengthen it. So for the likes of me, I call it being a fridge brick. You're coming from like having no flexibility. You're trying to acquire the range of motion, but you'll probably find your stability doesn't lack that much. In fact, you're so stiff and tight that you've already got stability there somehow. So it's really about trying to acquire the flexibility. But for someone that's really flexible, it's still about you do the same movements, but it's about trying to acquire the stability throughout the range. So you go much slower, you add pauses to movements. And you just try and connect yourself more with your middle, essentially learn how to brace properly and stuff. And it can take a long, long, long time.
I'm surprised that she was advised not to go into that range of movement, because I know, and I'm sure, apologies to Shelley, I didn't stop well enough on that one. I'm sorry. When I was pregnant, obviously we get a bit more flexible in our hips and stuff like that there. So I've seen since having my last child, and even during the pregnancy, because I continue doing fitness, that I could get down deeper in the squats. And now I wouldn't go any less in the squat. I go down deep, and I can definitely feel it getting tighter as the hormone leaves my body more. But I find that my body's got used to that range of movement. So why would I not?
It's just about teaching your brain. It's just about teaching your brain that it's a safe movement. So if you can, so it can go either way with pregnancy. It's either really, really good, and you do get that boost, and if you keep being active and stuff, you can get really lucky, and it's like a massive change to how your hips are able to move. Or for other people, they can dislocate things, so it's not that good. So it can go both ways, really. Yeah. So yeah, it's about getting yourself into those ranges and just showing your brain that it's safe, and then you actually keep it. You always kind of had it. It was more that there's like a neurological block with your heads goes, that's not safe, don't do it. So if you start to actually do a range of motion in a way that feels safe to you, and you do it often enough, your brain goes, okay, that's fine then. And the issue with hypermobility is like it's almost as if that mechanism isn't there. It's like, hey, let the shoulder go that way, let it keep going. So like Jenny's dislocated her shoulder 3 times over the past lot of years. It just pops out. So it's not fun. I would, if I'm able to choose what I would prefer to have, to be inflexible or too flexible, I would pick inflexible, because I find it much easier to manage than being too flexible.
True that.
Yeah.
So we've touched upon the name of your program a couple of times throughout this chat thus far. Can you tell us what it is, S.M.M, and what it stands for, and how is it conceived? Like, how did it come to be what it is today?
S.M.M is the simplistic mobility method, and it's basically all the stuff that works without any of the faff and having to stand and listen to like a 3-hour lecture to find out to wiggle your hip. Whenever I was trying to learn everything, it was so boring, and I was just like, if I could go back in time and just give myself something to fix myself immediately, it is what it would be. And the premise is essentially making all of your joints work like joints are supposed to work, and just doing it regularly. And that's the secret. It's like the whole with the diet world of like, oh, calorie deficit, and just eat less and you'll lose weight. It's like same thing for me. I was like, what's the mobility version of that? It's like, how about we make all the joints work the way they're supposed to, like through flexibility and stability, and most things will be fine. And what you'll see if you scroll through our reviews, it's like all these people are doing the exact same program. I was like, my knees are fixed, my back is fixed, my ankle's fixed, my plantar fasciitis went away, my back pain went away, my neck is fixed, my posture's better. All this stuff happened just from these same movements. So a lot of people will message me and say, do you do tailored programs? And it's like, nobody has a special body that moves differently to other people. If you use movements that your joints actually like to do, and you do them regularly and build them up, that's your tailoring. The things that you struggle with when you start with S.M.M, that's the tailoring. So you'll find everyone that does it will find different parts of it hard. So for me, it was a lot of the hip flexibility movements was the hardest things for me, and the upper back flexibility as well. And only the balance on my right leg, my left leg balance was completely fine. So if I was just
like, why do we have one of my
you want to see my balance?
my right side is better on my left side than on my right. Sorry, interrupted, but I'm just like, it cracks me up, but I can't figure that out.
It's all right if it's a small bit. You'll always have like one side that's slightly stronger. Like you'll never. It's one of the reasons I wear odd socks all the time. It's just like a shout out to that. You'll never be fully symmetrical. It doesn't happen. It's not possible. Your body's not built like that. But as long as the gaps are only a little bit, it's when you have a big gap that you've kind of learned over time. So like if you're right-handed, for example, and you never ever do anything with your left hand, like ever, you'll probably find you've got more strength in your right hand than your left hand. And that's not because stirring your tea and writing with a pen or whatever makes you stronger. It's just you've got more of a connection with that arm, so you're able to stabilize it better. So simply by like learning how to juggle or like trying to write with your left hand and stuff, you can close that gap quite easily. So the same thing goes for single leg balance. Some people just have way better balance in one leg than they do the other. Like if you look at a footballer, for example, you always ask them like what their kicking leg is, and they would say like that's my right leg. And it's like, so the one that you'll have better balance in then will be your left leg. And they get kind of confused. They're like, no, but I kick the ball on the right foot. It's like, yes, but you're standing on the left foot when you kick the ball. So it's the one with the strength and the stability. Yeah, so that's where you get your balance from. And it's so common to see footballers with like having one leg that they're like all day long, no problem. And the other leg, they're falling all over the place, It's quite funny, this is just like I catch people out all the time. Doesn't matter, like professional athletes and like people with like friggin' 12 packs going on, and it's like I'm showing them the simplest of things and they can't do them. They're like sweating and screaming after 2 minutes, and it's like, I thought you were supposed to be fit. It's quite funny to do. So yeah, it's good fun. They'll have something somewhere, and my idea with S.M.M was to make a program that will catch you out, and you will find your weaknesses, and through doing the right movements in the right order, that's basically the secret to aligning things. So if you're really tight on one side, for example, and you start doing core exercises and lifting all the time on it, you're just strengthening that pattern. So it's really important that you actually align things and stretch things out before you go into stability stuff, and then you integrate it into your training movements. And that's what S.M.M is. So it's like all the bits of yoga and all the bits of Pilates, all the bits of strength training and all the bits of like martial arts training that I've just accumulated over the years, and when like, right, this is the order this stuff should be in, and it's just the most effective way about doing things, and just it's the frequency. So I ideally like people to do it at the beginning for 4 times a week, and that's the idea behind that is so it's like more of your week than not. So you're doing 4 days a week, you're having 3 days off rather than doing like 3 days and having 4 days off. You're just getting that extra bit of practice all the time, and it just layers up. So it's what I found with anything I tried to train or get good at. I would get really laser focused and be like, right, I want to snatch 100 kilos. All I'm doing is snatching, and that's it. That's all I would do. Nothing else. I would snatch, I would overhead squat, and I would back squat, and I was like, that's all I'm doing. And I would do it 4 times a week, and I would just build on that, build on that, build on that. And
funny you said that there. That's I sort of think the way you think. I was working on deadlifts and stuff, so I sort of mid-range was a weak area, so I started doing like rack pulls to strengthen the back and all up, and worked the way up that there, and then started from the ground to mid-range, for a while, and then I started doing the full things, and I got to the 200 kilos, just exactly like you were saying too. Just focused on everything, trying to feel everything, work everything, and trying to work out weaknesses and build that up. So I can relate with what you're saying and how you're going that way. It's a good way to be.
It's just building the movement up in parts, so that you have so much confidence. So if you're like, right, if I can rack pull 250 and I can do a partial at 250, like being able to do 200 for full range, that should be there, So it's kind of the way you're thinking about it. Build everything from all angles that you can.
Yeah, I can get that focus on it. I actually visualize myself doing it, so I can, and then I'll sit back and I'll maybe work a month on working things around, building things up, and then one day's going in and saying, right, I'm doing this here, nothing stopping me. I'm just straight in, bang, and doing it. So it's just the way I suppose it's just the way the bodybuilding or whatever it is, or maybe it's just through genetics or something. I don't know, but somebody sets me a goal and they say you can't do that. I'll say, was that right? Well, give me a month or a couple of weeks, and then come back and see.
Yeah. If you set targets, you'll just achieve them.
That's it.
You have to set the targets to actually work towards the thing. You can't just blindly go, I'll do that, and not have a plan. It doesn't work.
Next thing you land on the ground, your back pulled out or something's popped out.
You both just mentioned targets there. Like, I've worked primarily with females, and that's not slagging off females, but I'm about to say. But we're all looking for quick fixes. So how do you teach your clients, whatever they may be, it takes time? Like, how do you go, right? Like, you've got is it the goal setting? Is it the constant accountability? Is it motivation? What is it that you can get people to from where they are to where they need to be? Do you let them, is it self-responsibility or like how?
I would say, I don't know, I'd start off sort of small goals and see what they're working on. It's long term, not short term. So it is, you got to get that in their head that it's long term. So you got to start off slow and work your way up. Focus on what they're doing, what their strengths is, what their weaknesses is, what works, what doesn't work, and sort of positioning that sort of way around them. I don't know what way you do it, Tom. Would that be something similar to what I would basically do and try
Yeah,
and
you
get
put
them
you
a
put the
positive
long
mindset as
term
well?
you put the long-term idea in their head, but you make sure that you show them that they're going to have wins along the way. And the great
Yeah.
thing about a lot of beginners as well is that they'll have that like beginner gains stage. So you can
Oh
set
yeah.
them a goal. You can set them a goal to achieve in like 4 weeks or 8 weeks time. And 9 out of 10 times you're probably going to surpass that goal with someone that's new to training, especially because they haven't done
Yeah.
it before. So like the first little stage is just them being like, oh, hey, I actually know what a barbell is now. So they just instantly get stronger because it's not a brand new implement to them,
Mhm.
So and it's just about showing them, hey, you couldn't do that 4 weeks ago. And they're like, I couldn't do that 4 weeks ago. Just it's getting them excited along the way. It's
That's it.
just
Yeah.
a really important thing, and showing them that they are making progress as they are, because everybody, you're with you all the time. So you don't notice the changes that you're making. Whereas if you're able to point out to them, it's like, here, look, you couldn't do that. Now you could do that. And look, this is where we're going to go in another 4 weeks. And they have more trust in you then as well.
Yeah.
Once you've helped someone achieve a little thing, they'll have more trust with you. And then they'll just be more, they'll be all in then. They'll be like, all right, okay, like I'm really going to listen now. So the first while they're
Yeah.
kind of like they're on the back foot and they're like, is this really going to help or whatever? But when you get them the first couple of things, then they're like, okay, let's go for it then. And then
Yeah.
it's that when you
Or
get that little spark, it's great.
the famous word is I can't do that. I've always
Uh,
said there's no such word as can't. You can, never come in negative. Always come in with a positive attitude or thinking, oh, I can't do this, and you can. There's no such thing as can't. And then when you do it, as you say, like you see the wee spark click off, so they and they're like, oh, I can do that now.
mhm.
It's good to see.
Yeah,
So it
it's
is.
awesome. Yeah, it's just the
Yeah.
best. As a coach, it's the best feeling in the world when you see
Ah,
someone
brilliant. So it
just
is.
get excited about fitness, because like
Yeah.
for a lot of people, like fitness and training and everything, they're not interested in it. They're doing it so they don't get fat. That's why they're doing it. They're like, I have to do this because people say I do. But when you
Yeah.
see them actually get excited about training and actually be like, hey, I'm enjoying this, that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
It does
Yeah.
fill me up sometimes.
I love it where it's more where they're not confident in themselves, but as you see, as they progress along, you can see the confidence building up and up and up. And then I'd try and say, well, listen, you don't need me no more. My whole idea is to get you in here and get you train yourself and show you the roads. You've got the confidence to do that now. And see, when you see the confidence come into them, it's the best feeling in the world. So it is when you can actually come back and they say, thanks very much. You've helped me do this, do that. And even no matter what age it is, from young to old, always achieve, always have a
Mhm.
goal and set it and go for it.
So Tom, Davey is sporting his t-shirt he got from one of our collabs at the start of this program, our podcast, and it's very sexy. So we're going to go on, we're going to deviate a little bit onto attire for the gym. It's fair to say that you don't wear the leggings, the shorts, you don't wear a typical sports gear, you wear jeans. I think that's why I was
Yeah.
drawn,
Oh, yeah.
drawn to you. I was like, why do you wear jeans? Like, how do you move?
I watch. Yeah.
This is different. I can't really move those things.
I watch. I want to see the back of the rip or something.
Why do you wear jeans when you train in all your videos? Like,
Yeah.
It's well, number one, it gets you more comments on social media because people are like, you can't wear jeans in the gym. But no, it's really that a lot of the stuff that we teach is just stuff that you should be doing throughout the day. So I don't
Uh-huh.
deem a lot of stuff that we actually do as training. I deem it as like, this is stuff that cats do throughout the day. Why are we not doing it? You shouldn't be wearing stuff throughout the day if you can get away with it that hinders you from moving or being able to get up and down off the floor. Like if I want to play with my kids or whatever and get down the floor and crawl around like a
You're not
bear,
gonna
it's
get
like,
jeans.
yeah, it's like, oh, hang on, where did I get my yoga pants on? It doesn't, life doesn't like that for me. And that's the thing. Like whenever we take our kids to like the soft play areas or the playground and stuff, we don't change their clothes. They go and play in what they're
That's
wearing,
true.
and
Yeah.
that's why a lot of people start to stop moving as much. It's just that throughout the day they're wearing restrictive clothes and stuff. So it's so important to wear things that actually allow you to move. So I specifically buy stretchy jeans from a company called Fran Denim. And there's also a place in the UK called Olympovs as well.
you
So
have to
that
tell me
I
that about
can
mine.
move. So
I must say, the jeans I have, I can't even freaking fit them, especially
yeah,
off
I
season.
hate men's jeans. I will never go
Yeah,
back to wearing any other type of
they're
jeans than
crap.
these type of jeans. Yeah, they're awful. So it's really, it kind of gets the people, will shout at it or whatever, but it's to get that point across of like, this stuff is simple stuff that you should be doing to keep yourself
Yeah.
healthy. Even if you go on a stage where you can't be bothered training, if you've ever had that yourselves, you maybe take a month or two off, you're like, I can't be bothered training. you still do mobility stuff. You still move your joints. You know, it's like
Yeah.
brushing your teeth. You should do that stuff all the time. There shouldn't be a special occasion for it. When you wake up, you should move your joints a little bit. And like just throughout the day, if you have something that's, you know, you're wanting to work on or whatever, you should devote more time to it throughout the day as well. It's very, very easy to become, I call it like intentional fidgeting. So there's so many times throughout the day that you're actually standing doing nothing. And that's you know, you can get a cheeky bicep stretch in, or just sit down and do a squat or whatever, and you know, stretch your hips a little bit.
I do that in work. If the company
Yeah.
has load size at work, the calf raises or something, to stand up my toes or something, or stretching or something. And they're
Mhm.
saying, "What are you doing here?" I'm just stretching, loosening up and all. And you can see
Yeah.
them all walking about, giggling, getting on. I said, "Well, you're the one that's stiff. I'm not."
Yeah, and it's just we call it having a wiggle. So
I know wiggle.
it's just that idea of like, you know, move more throughout the day. You know, it's so easy to, especially me now. Like, you know, I'm supposed to teach mobility and movement stuff, but we do everything online. So I have to sit for a long time during the day, like all the time. I have to actively say to myself, right, get up and move yourself here. You know, outside of training, you know, it's so important. So when I'm actually training, if I'm doing squats and you know, actually working out and stuff, yes, I'm wearing tracksuit bottoms, but throughout the
Yeah,
day, you know, I still move more and I need the
that's
clothes
it.
to do that, you know. So it's just a really important thing to get into people's heads, I think, of like you need to move more throughout the day. You know, you can't expect 1 hour, you know, say you're only training 3 times a week or whatever, you can't expect 3 hours a week to negate what you've been doing for the past 30 years or whatever. You
Yeah,
know, you need to move more throughout the day. And it doesn't need to be fancy. And that's the thing. You don't need to get a sweat on when you're doing it. I do not deem mobility stuff as like working out. Yes, of course, there's like if you're working towards the splits or something, that's advanced flexibility. So it's like, yeah, you're you know, you want to put the proper clothes on for it and get a sweat on and actually, you know, work on improving those positions. But if we're just talking like, you know, rotating your ankles a little bit, you know, moving your hips a
yeah,
little bit, you know, it should be stuff that's done more often throughout the day.
Can I just say the toe mobility is super hard.
Yeah.
I was like, I keep watching my feet going, work, work. No, one foot works
Yeah.
better than the other.
Anyway, thinking, where did you get the t-shirt from? Have a wiggle.
Oh, we have it on our merch store. We have t-shirts
I'm
on
going to order one up
the
as soon
store.
as I got
Awesome.
one
I think that's Flong and Sensible. So what's Flong and Sensible all about?
Flong and Sexible.
Kind of wears that T-shirt with the what's the word? Like it's Flong and Sensible. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
It's Flong and Sexible.
Sexable. I'm not doing very well today, am I? I'm gonna blame the fact that I didn't get much sleep last night. I apologize.
Flong and Sexible is the mix between being strong and flexible. And it's our kind of like ethos of, you know, you want to have both. You want to be strong enough, but you also want to be flexible enough. You don't want to be the best at either, or you know, you can be if you want to, but for the general person, the average Joe, which I class myself as, is like you want to have just enough strength to do you and just enough flexibility to do you. You want a nice combo of both, and that's what Flong and Sexible is. And it's just funny. It's funnier to say sexible than strexible. It was one of those things. Me and Jenny were sitting trying to come up with an advert idea on a white background, and I just happened to just write this script down, and I went, "Everybody wants to be strong and flexible, or Flong and Sexible," and it was like we instantly knew. Oh, here, hang on. This is something. This is a good thing here. This is going to be a good slogan. Like straight away, you knew straight away this is going to be a good slogan. So it was like my one moment of genius in life that I've kind of had. So.
You've had quite a few in this program. So what's next for S.M.M then? And Tom Morrison?
Next for us, we're still growing everything, and like we took on JP there as well, and we took on somebody else too there. So we're constantly expanding and growing, and we're relaunching S.M.M. Hopefully this month. There's going to be the updated version of it, so to read on all the videos, and we're doing the ebook again and everything, and just making it better and better and better. So we're going over a lot of stuff we've been doing for the past 5 years and just making things better, you know. And it's what's working. You know, we don't need to start doing new stuff or trying to come up with new fancy things. It's like S.M.M works. It's like we're going to make that better, make it the best possible program that we can that's affordable for everybody, and just keep on spreading that message out there. And you know, a lot of people, you know, we use advertising and stuff as well, but a lot of the sales initially just came from word of mouth, and people were just like, this thing's really helped me. And then, you know, just spreading that online was just such a massive help to us actually getting off the ground. So it's the program that gets the results. And that's the thing, coming back to like being funny in videos and stuff like that. It's like, yes, you can be a clown in videos, but you have to be able to back it up with something. Otherwise you're just a clown kind of thing. So no, what definitely the stuff that we do works, and we're just constantly trying to make it as good as we possibly can. And
it's definitely fair to say from like your reviews, and even I can say from a personal point of view, being on that course that day, I got a lot from it. And then to witness somebody who could bend and just bring his hand below his knees, and then towards the end of the day be able to nearly touch the ground, it works. And I've seen it firsthand by watching other people and doing it myself. So if he's haven't logged on to S.M.M, get on it now. Right?
Oh, definitely. You said yourself, like, you can be a clown, but even with your videos and with doing stuff like that, there, you can still see the serious side of it, but you can still take that all on board, so you can, which is really good. And as you say, it's simple, so it is, and everybody can relate to it and say, I can do that there. And they'll go and have a go at it, and that's it. They'll just progress on and on and on. So it's hats off to you for coming up with that. There, it's brilliant.
Thank you.
Tom, would like for you to leave our guests with 3 simple tips which they can start implementing into their daily lives, starting today, that you think that, well, from your previous experience, will be able to help mobility promotion for them. So please share.
3 simple tips. When you get up in the morning, do 5 to 10 minutes of just relaxed movement. It doesn't need to be fancy. You don't even have to have your eyes open, but start at your head, move your neck a bit, move your shoulders a bit, move your spine a bit, move your hips a bit. As soon as you get up in the morning, make it a new lifetime habit that you just do forever. You can get rid of so many issues just from starting to do that. And the number 2 thing, which you can just add to the number 1 thing, is really focus on your breathing as you move. When you're doing mobility work especially, you should be just relaxed breathing the whole time. You shouldn't be holding your breath, and you shouldn't be going to try and improve a range of motion. You want to have relaxed breathing the whole time. So just through you taking those 5-10 minutes first thing in the morning to control your breathing and to move a bit, you're going to just set yourself up for such a better day. It's absolutely life-changing. See, when you've been doing it for a couple of weeks, it feels like a bit of a chore, but after that, you're like, how did I not do this before? Just you can feel the difference that you make. And then in the evenings, I would say if you have a specific area that you're really wanting to work on, like say you've got a bum shoulder or something like that, you want to then set aside 15 minutes just before you go to bed to work on that area to try and improve it. And that's, so you're talking there 20-25 minutes a day, really. You've just added up. Like 15 minutes isn't a long time. See, if you just get started, it just flies in. You're like, oh, I'm already finished, So it's those little things, and it's just those little bits throughout the day makes such a difference to you. So first thing in the morning and last thing at night, if you have, like I say, a problem area that you're looking to work on, devote that little bit of time to it. And just through that frequency over time, you can change how your body moves. Like when, a matter of months, you can have got rid of a problem that's maybe annoyed you for years, So let's move in the morning, focus on your breathing while you move. And then in the evenings, if you have something that you specifically want to improve, just 15 minutes on it every day.
Fabulous.
Brilliant.
And when is the new course or the updated version of your S.M.M and the ebook coming out? Just so we can let the listeners know.
We don't know. It's we've been working on it for about 6 months now so far. So we rebuilt it all from scratch. Like we hired an Airbnb to film it in and all. We spent 2 weeks filming it. And just
brilliant.
It's hardcore getting all the filming done, like.
It really, really is. And now it's the editing's the thing that's holding it up the longest, So we've got Jenny and JP and Magic are all editing the videos and stuff, and it's just a massive process now of just getting all the text put on things, and then I'll be getting all the subtitles then put on them as well. I haven't been subtitled yet. So it's all coming together. It feels like it's coming together now, whereas for the past 5 months it's been like, we're getting nowhere with this. What's going on? We're remaking the dashboard and everything as well. So there's so many different moving parts to it. But it's gonna be, like I said, so much better whenever it's like released again, because I think the videos that are currently up now are, I think, 3 years old now. So it was the second update we did, so it's gonna be the third
update. You haven't aged today. You haven't aged today.
No, definitely not. If you catch me in the right light, you can't see my grays.
Well, we'll also put a link to your page and your websites and stuff and all down below as well, so people can click on and follow, and
if they're not already,
and get in contact with yourself for help and guidance as well, which I'd highly recommend. If these are all struggling with a few things, give Tom a big shout.
Awesome.
He'll get you in the right direction. Hopefully, maybe someday we'll get down and meet you in person for a coffee and a chat. So,
yeah, sure.
Brainstorm. I'd love to pickle your brain, loads of stuff. I'm just thinking what I'd love to ask. So it's very interesting, especially talking to somebody that sort of thinks something similar to myself. So it's the first time I've actually talked to somebody like that there, and like, yeah, I can understand that, I can relate to that.
Awesome.
So it's great to listen. So it is.
Awesome.
Fabulous. Well, enjoy your day. I'm sure you're super busy. The kids at school, or are they?
Kids are at school.
Mine are all off today. So have a great day. Enjoy the sun if you can. But thank you very much for your time.
Yes, Tom, thank you very much. Really
yes, thank you.
I'm very appreciative of it. And as our first guest, we could have asked for a better person.
Oh, definitely.
Happy to help.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye.